And we barely even got started. Yep, I agree with this bit of graffiti up here. This thing is definitely filthy.
I'm going to comment on it by continuing the problem. Genius! Genius! Ching! The ching is for the piss going into the air.
I did say... I did say to bring on the toilet jokes. Just, also be careful because, like I said, I don't want to get dinged by YouTube. Well, anyways, like I said, according to Clement, he's, gonna get this place cleaned up to become a nightclub. Seems like he's gonna need to knock down more than just a few walls. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking for nightclub conversion. Speaking of the devil, I'll just start back here. Line the glitter balls that lead you through the entry tunnel. Shine a light of every color in every angle and every face. Oh boy. Y'all get y'all discombobulated but excited. Well, that's one way of putting it.
I suppose.
So yeah.
I feel discombobulated right now.
Oh,
yeah.
Good. The exit is clean. Get out of here. Get out of here.
And, anyways, to put it simply, with what happened with my Wi-Fi, occasionally, sometimes some idiot driver like somehow briefly knocks out the power, and it affects a good chunk of the city. Now, please note, Chatham is not a big city. I mean, it takes me about 2 hours alone to get from where I am to the Walmart on the other end of town. So, yeah. So, and of course and when that happens, it screws up with my Wi-Fi. So if I know that the power went out, that's a surefire sign I need to reset the Wi-Fi. Which, despite this place, is a bigger stinker all on its own.
But at least you got this section of floor all nice and clean.
Yeah, for the most part, just gotta get these edges. Thank goodness I bought this new power washer. There we go.
I have to clean the suit when we get out of here.
Yeah.
Clean it. I'm gonna let you burn it.
Yeah. Cause trust me, I've been in plenty of public bathrooms, and I know the type of bad, disgusting stuff that goes on there. Like, would you guys like to hear one of my stories from camping?
Oh God.
Personally, not really.
Something tells me you're gonna tell us anyway. What happened when you were camping once?
Alrighty. So, I was minding my own business, which is always the good start of a tale that isn't biased. But trust me when I say that it was fine. It was the usual camping trip at this time. My cousin Steven was up with my other cousins from my dad's side. I was just going down to the bathroom. I noticed Steven and my cousin Jojo, or was it Michael? You know what? I think it was Michael and Jonathan, actually. With Steven, naturally. Steven was there. They're putting up to me, and I was like, oh God, guys, what happened? And because they were soaking wet. So, they naturally explained that some girls came out of the girls' bathroom and sprayed them with the water gun.
Water.
And let's just say that it wasn't water that they were using.
I don't want to know! Nope!
You're really sure you don't want to know? Because I think it's very obvious what it was.
Hey, she's the one who's piloting this Jungle Cruise ride. She says no, it's no.
Fine, what was it? Bug spray or something?
Well, they came out of the bathroom, so...
Did they do it themselves, or did they just collect it from the bowls?
Don't know. But that doesn't make it any better. They, they had pea water guns that they were spraying random people with. Naturally, soon as the camp administrators found out about this, the family was immediately banned.
Good. Still, ew.
Because I understand being a child, you try to be a little bit reckless, free, maybe get in a little bit of trouble. But I think that is just borderline sexual assault. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not, but
no. That's just being a nuisance.
Although technically it was an involuntary exchange of fluids.
Yeah.
So under that definition, I think it counts.
Yeah, either way. Oh. Yeah. No doubt those girls got grounded for life.
I bet the family didn't get their deposit back.
I hope at the very least they lost any and all access to water guns and water balloons.
Yeah, so sorry for those that saw that big flash.
Wow, that was camera strength.
Yikes.
It was all around us. Like,
yeah.
Chaos, you're gonna have to watch that. You're gonna have to watch this in order to see that.
Yeah, when you got the tunnel done, yeah, brace your eyes.
Oh, is the light specifically out there?
No, it's the entire dang tunnel.
Oh.
Yeah, the entire tunnel was one long piece, so when it was clean and it does that glow thing, it was literally all around us.
Oh God.
In fact, I can tell you're doing it now, so brace yourself.
I can't. Oh boy, I love involuntary flashbangs. Speaking of flashes, did you guys hear about the Flash movie?
I've heard basically that it's a Batman movie with a Flash problem.
Yeah, Flash makes up at least half of the film, and most of it is just the main actor Ezra Miller talking to himself.
Of course it is.
I mean, come on, guys. If I wanted to watch Ezra Miller talk to himself, I would just look at his Instagram or TikTok,
or maybe every single time he's popped up in the news lately.
I mean, come on. He's the masked goose wizard. Finding these things is not a puzzle thing, and yes, that is an actual phrase he's referred to himself as.
Well, I just think that it was nice of him to take some time to basically leave that parallel dimension that he supposedly escaped to come back to ours and finally put out this dang movie, even though it's been finished for like a year and a half.
Yeah, and reviews are not all too great for it, which is part of the reason why I decided to bring it up. I felt like it was very fitting given the place that we're in.
Yeah, anyways,
Yep.
Kevin Bernard is telling me that we got a job back at the carnival. And Clement says, enter the main room where each of the sinks is converted into a drinks dispenser. Well, at least he'll be cleaning out the plumbing.
Well, on the plus side, at least it's the sinks and not the toilets.
Mm-hmm. Speakers built into the floor hit you with the deepest bass beats from your toes up.
I really hope that the fire marshal puts an end to this nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
I've only been to a club once, fun fact. Not because I want to go to one, but because I was looking for my sister, because we were going to go to the place where I'm going to be spending most of my time in Dublin for a month. I froze. Like, I just straight up couldn't move. I got, the sound beats were too much for me. Ended up having to pack out, and I started crying.
Did it feel like your internal organs were vibrating?
Yes.
Because that's how it felt for me when I went to the Metallica and the AC/DC concert.
Yeah. It was not a feeling I was used to, and certainly not a feeling I want to repeat of.
I haven't been into a concert for a while. Last time was a Paul Brandt concert back in London.
I mean, definitely haven't been to one for a while. Probably been more than 10 years at this point. Oh my god.
Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't mind going to a concert if it was more of a, I don't know, maybe a country one?
Oh, trust me, you'll like the country ones.
Yeah.
I should know. That's the bulk of a lot of my concert goings.
Yee. Oh god.
I told you to brace yourself!
Do not... Oh, wait. Turn away and do not look back until 10 seconds after first light. Do not remove safety goggles.
You okay? You okay back there, ass?
I'm fine.
He just probably needs another layer added onto his visor lens.
Yeah.
As soon as you said the "oh god" and I heard the ding, I knew exactly what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, finished the tunnel on the other end there. But yeah, unlike a lot of rock concerts that country concerts aren't too bad. Not overly too loud unless they got like a real rock, bit of a strong rock bass piece, but pretty nice all the same. Like I said, most of them, and of course, you want to know the one country singer I saw the most of in concert?
Who?
Paul Brandt. I went to 3 different concerts of his in the same place, which was the Western Fair in London. Trust me. He did his own take on the Convoy song. Heck, he even made a country version called a Christmas version called, of course, Christmas Convoy, for an album where part of the proceeds will be going to Samaritan's Purse.
I'm pretty sure that song ended up on an episode of The Simpsons.
There we go. Well, if it did, I'm sure Mr. Brandt himself will find it pretty amusing. Either way, great country singer. I definitely recommend him.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm very much used to country. Because despite the fact that I very rarely seek it out on YouTube, it is the music I feel probably the most comfortable with. Just thanks to the fact that my parents have always put it on whenever we're traveling somewhere in the car.
For me, it's my mom always putting it on in the kitchen. Every time I get up, the radio's on to a country channel. Have you ever heard too much country music, Link?
I've heard some here or there.
Okay. There we go. At least this one is really well sectioned off. It's just a little difficult to get around sometimes. Okay, got the ceiling panel done.
By the way, just as a little bit of a fun little bit of trivia, do you guys know which superhero Nicolas Cage actually got to play as?
Superman.
I believe he was tried out, but I don't think that actually came to fruition, though.
So the whole thing about how they... So he's in the Flash movie, huh?
No, I don't believe he's in the Flash movie.
Then why'd
He
you bring
may
up
be.
Nicolas Cage?
Oh. Because he's in the... Oh. No, because he's just an actor I like to think about, especially since, well, he could have been a Superman at some point. But the superhero actually played as was...
About.
Yeah. We were off that point a little bit a while ago, that's why I didn't go back to it. But
So now you're talking about Ghost Rider?
yep, there's also another one he got to play as, though, beyond Ghost Rider.
Oh, which one?
Spider-Man. Specifically, Spider-Man Noir in the Spider-Verse movie.
Ah. Oh, God. Hey, Oz?
Yes.
These things in front of you. They're urinals.
This?
Yes.
What sort of messed up urinal is this?
I have no idea.
This looks like
A
more like a
urinal
mini
is
shower
more
than a
like it.
urinal.
You're
What the hell? What the actual F? Do these people know what a urinal looks like?
Urine all over.
I know what a urinal looks like because I used to clean both the bathrooms back at my old job. But this is, like, crazy weird.
Yeah, like that is not a urinal that I am at all familiar with. I've seen plenty of urinals, but they do not look like that at all.
I think that you guys are lucky that there's no big, gigantic trough filled with ice in here.
Ew.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess to go back into the Flash movie, because that was a earlier point.
Just hold on one second. Excuse me.
Right.
Why is there ice in there? I wouldn't have done that. That's such a funny moment. I wouldn't have done that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing I find probably funny that it's based off of Flashpoint, I believe it is.
Of course it is.
Yeah, but naturally, much like most adaptations from Hollywood, instead of following the source material exactly or whatever, they
repurpose it for their own purposes.
Yeah, they do it about it like very odd way. Like they have the main villain being Zod, which I find funny because Zod otherwise doesn't really have a connection with Barry.
Anyways, Clement is telling more of his plans for this nightclub. Further along, the Gibbuggles. These will be private dance floors, each one featuring the latest hits from a different continent. How are they going to make it a dance floor in these things?
Yeah, like, this place is way too narrow.
I really hope that nobody approves of this and just gets this thing cleaned up to be just like another normal public bathroom again.
Yeah, I could just see Sam Neill rushing up towards him. Clement, after careful consideration, I've decided not to endorse your nightclub.
Amen.
Plot twist, we actually get to come back to this place later, but it just has one problem.
No customers.
Oh, no. No, there was a big rave party, but it resulted in the whole place being trashed and made filthy.
Yeah. Filthy is right, Mr. Graffiti.
And rather than doing anything to clean it, I will add to the problem. Because we live in a society.
And what do you expect? Most people aren't part of the solution, they're part of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, about Zod being the main villain, I find that really kind of friggin' irritating considering that Henry Cavill is basically out as Superman.
But Ezra Miller gets to stay as the Flash.
Basically, at least. Now they basically no longer have any excuse. But anyways, I find it so weird that basically when you get down to it, Zod was the villain in now 3 out of these movies. Because he was basically the main villain in Man of Steel. His body gets used to create Doomsday in BVS. And now there's this BS. Flash BS.
Yeah. Yeah. Those kind of, and I'm not familiar with at all with a lot of Flashpoints, though, but I do know there's, I don't know, some things I find kind of odd, like Bruce Wayne being, played by a completely different actor. A previous Batman actor, sure. But still kind of weird that Flash changes one thing and then Bruce grows up to be a completely different person, literally.
Yeah. It's basically one of those facets of the multiverse that I don't think that Hollywood truly understands, because, there's literally no way that it could have such a drastic effect such as that to the point where someone's genetics are completely different. You would have to basically be on a completely detached branch that's several different timelines detached from your own. You can't even really be on your same thread anymore. You gotta be in a new quantum eventuality system.
Plus, if I have to be honest, I'm pretty sure Bruce is older than Barry Allen, because I could see this being possible if the shift happened before Bruce was conceived. That way, it's technically the same person name-wise, but how the genetics may have functioned on one given day may have gone differently than another. If you get my meaning.
Yeah, Bruce.
Oh, I found another gnome.
I found him earlier. He's trying to use the bathroom.
But yeah, in this continuity, Bruce is definitely older than Barry. In fact, Bruce is probably the oldest member of the Justice League. He's literally he's basically old man Bruce Wayne in this one. From the Dark Knight Returns comics. It's basically what he's based on. You see he's pepper gray hair and whatnot, the fact that he's already lost a Robin, the fact that he was basically semi-retired, but then friggin' Superman showed up and kind of pissed him off.
Yeah.
Okay, did get that done.
I know they also have a Super Girl-based one, which I find to be funny, because then that means Zod's going through the planet looking for the one thing that just isn't there.
Yep.
There, kind of a major plot element. He's tearing apart Earth for pretty much no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing he's looking for isn't there. Because there's no way that thing worked the way that it did.
I'm glad that we decided to go with this job for the new Power Washer, since everything is pretty much up close.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's very hard for me to get behind certain areas.
Where's that light coming from?
The
Skylight.
sun. Two different answers with the same meaning. Woohoo!
Yep, this thing's got skylights.
I always find skylights to be kind of weird, to be honest.
Why, they're basically just windows on the ceiling.
Yep, brings in natural light so you don't have to use electricity all the time.
I think that maybe that's the natural light part that he's got the problem with.
Yeah. Ah, natural light.
All right.
But yeah, I think that basically what I can just immediately sense about this Flash movie, it's the fact that it's a Trojan horse, but it's already basically failed. Like, they're pretty much using this movie as a Trojan horse. It's marketed as a Flash movie. It's called a Flash movie, but when you get down to it, it's actually a Supergirl movie. But that's not why people even wanted it. People want it because it's the third Michael Keaton Batman movie.
Yeah. Well, you see, the funny... I guess that technically just... Or, from what I understand, like, Ezra Miller stays the whole thing, like I suppose, like, if I go any further, it would be spoilers as to what pretty much happens.
Oh, for
What's that?
God's sake!
I didn't set off the fire alarm again, did I?
No, it's on my end.
Was your sister cooking breakfast again?
No, she's at work. And then the other one's
Is your
like
other
chilling.
Aw, damn it. I was saying,
I'm
is the other
probably
sister-
guessing it's like one of the neighbors. Sorry about that, people. Okay, it's done.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Yeah.
contrary to popular belief, our goal is not to burn this place down to the ground.
Yeah,
Or at least
no.
not yet.
Yeah, no. The fire alarm system here is also very touchy. That's what we get for trying to get a good cheap apartment out here.
Oh, you're cooking breakfast? Allow me to sing you the song of my people.
Alright, got one more done.
But yeah, if they really wanted to please fans of the Michael Keaton, Tim Burton Batman movies, what they should have done, they should have brought in Billy D. Williams and finally have him play Two-Face.
Yeah. It's funny, because I know this movie's been out for a while, but it does kind of feel like they're trying to do the whole... What was it called?
The No Way Home
Spider-Man
scenario.
No Way Home. Yeah.
Yep. Speaking of Spider-Man No Way Home, that's another situation where the multiverse, like the branches, cannot possibly be all that linked together because the genetics, the locations, everything is all completely out of whack. Like, pretty much like friggin' Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi, the Garfield Webb versions, they have to be on completely different causational branch lines.
You're probably doing what with the urinals?
What? Don't leave us in suspense.
The urinals, now I'm thinking, will each contain a different soft drink, allowing the patrons to rehydrate after hitting the cubicles.
Ding ding, will you stop at the next corner, please? This is where I get off.
My thoughts exactly.
I'm just saying, there's only so many different types of lemonade that you can make before people get suspicious.
Agreed.
You know, basically this entire venture is just so poorly thought out that I'm legit convinced that this guy is doing this as some kind of tax write-off, or he's desperately trying to spend a whole lot of ill-gotten money before the IRS notices that he has it.
Yep.
Or in that one movie that you talked about beforehand.
I think
Brewster's
that-
Millions.
Yeah. Ay, ay, ay.
Man,
And
I
it
mean,
becomes an actual successful venture. adventure. Back to square one.
There we go. Alright. I got my side of this archway all done here, so just your side left. Oh, missed a spot.
Yeah. What I think it's probably also the funniest thing too in regards to the Flash movie is that it's doing worse than the Black Adam movie. Yeah.
Yep.
Which, from my understanding, Black Adam, despite not maybe selling as well as some people may have hoped, it actually was decently received.
I think that Black Adam was okay, but that's ultimately what it was. It was just okay. And the movie certainly has a whole lot of flaws to it. For the one thing, the main character really isn't all that likable. You would think that he would get likable with time. If anything, he actually gets worse with time. Secondly, the entire movie is just really structured very poorly. The entire third act of the film should have either been cut or restructured to where, like, it basically replaces the second act, because with it, the way that it is, everything in the climax just feels kind of tacked on, and it makes kind of like the last 40 minutes feel like a waste of our time. And, of course, there's the kid. I mean, I usually don't get all that irritated with child characters in movies, but this was definitely a situation where when it came to the kid character, less really should have been more.
In other words, the kid shouldn't be there.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying he shouldn't be there. What I am saying is that he really needed to shut up. Like, they just wouldn't let him stop talking. Oh my god.
Yeah. And of course then we had,
And I think that this movie is desperately trying to be Terminator 2, but there's no way this movie is going to be Terminator 2.
Oh, you mean the Black Adam or the Flash?
Black Adam.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one cool thing it did. Granted, it then the studio decided, was having Henry Cavill come back as Superman.
I know.
In the credits.
The worst part about it is that corresponded with a whole lot of rumors about what DC was going to do to fix itself. First step, they cancel the friggin' Batgirl movie, which was a step in the right direction, and then it basically would show that, basically like with the post-credit scene, depending on who was going to show up in the post-credits, because there was at one point where it was going to be Supergirl instead of Superman. Effectively speaking, like, if it was Supergirl, then that means that they were going the wrong direction. If it was Superman, then that meant that they were going to go the right direction. And
Alright, you little sticker, get ready to be cleaned!
And then they hired James Gunn, and they went to the wrong direction anyway.
Yep.
This is the only one time I'm glad to be cleaning a toilet.
Honestly, makes me wish that power washes were just a household item.
As the founding fathers intended.
Reason why I'm like a little bit, I'm okay with this, because when I was still living with my parents, I usually am the one to clean the bathrooms the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
satisfying. Anyways, you guys were talking about like superhero movies before I interrupted you with my toilet gripes.
With your enthusiasm for filling the toilet with water.
And I cleaned the toilet! Yay! And that means I only have one other one left to do.
I just seriously cannot understand how they could mess this up, because it literally felt like they had pretty much a perfect roadmap laid out before them. They literally wanted to do what Marvel was doing. All they had to do was do what Marvel was doing. The problem is, they wanted to do it quickly. Seriously, I mean, for starters, let's just put the beans out there. I like Man of Steel, and I really love Henry Cavill as Superman, but I really don't think that Man of Steel was the correct movie to start a cinematic universe off of. Because, I mean, it basically was doing for Superman what Nolan did for Batman in the Dark Knight trilogy, trying to basically kind of like take these characters in a more serious light and kind of show them the reality of the situation. A man falls out of the sky wearing bright colored tights and a red cape. People aren't going to immediately venerate him. People are going to be terrified of him, because this guy, what do you do about this guy if he ends up not being what he seems, if he ends up going rogue? That's the reality of the situation. So the thing about it is, that movie is asking a whole lot of important questions, but it's not necessarily fun. I think that it's a good and enjoyable movie, but I don't watch it for a good time. I watch it for basically kind of to see something epic and kind of a moral philosophy lesson. I watch it to see a person struggle. Like, I could basically get something similar from Iron Man, but at the same time, Tony Stark's struggle is not the same as Clark Kent's struggle. And, well, the movies are so different in tone because one basically implements comedy and sarcasm, the other just, well, doesn't. So, it wasn't the best starting point. So, and then, literally the second movie that basically was supposed to expand on all of this, instead of basically giving movies to each of the heroes individually to establish them one by one, we immediately jump into their equivalent of Civil War by having Batman fight Superman. Sorry, but I really don't think that we can start their relationship off on that kind of foot. That kind of fight needs to actually build up from someplace. It basically needs to be kind of heart-wrenching because these two guys are supposed to be friends, and the idea that they're coming to blows is supposed to be heartbreaking because either something is making them do it, or it's gotten so unstable to the point where neither one of them can morally back down. So,
in other words, whoever's in charge of this is doing more quantity over quality.
Yep. Zach's not.
Don't say that. Don't put this on him. This is on the studio.
And the studio, yeah.
Because despite what people might think, I actually think that Batman vs. Superman is actually not that bad. Because, like, there are definitely some things that are wrong with it, but the real problem with it is the fact that it's just too soon to have a movie like this. I mean, it would basically literally be like going from Iron Man 1 to Captain America Civil War. You don't even know who Captain America is. You don't know who all the other Avengers are, and yet they're somehow in this movie. So, where'd they come from?
Yeah.
And this is one of those times I'm happy to watch those YouTubers who prefer like doing more quality over quantity. Like recently, sorry to like steer the conversation away a little bit. recently I've been rewatching this one YouTuber named Jake the Snake, who does this 50 Ways to Die in Minecraft series. The thing is, he does it in such good quality, even going as far as making like 3D machinimas and stuff. And it takes him months to get it done.
And he goes out of his way to take the mick out of Jeremy from CinemaSins. That's gotta be worth something.
Oh, yeah. Say, it's coming up nice, huh? Yep. Sure is, Clement. I was expecting holes in the walls and all manner of unholy deposits. I feel very tempted to give him one of those. Ain't seen so much as a cracked tile yet. Hey, seriously, where's that spot I'm missing on this dang wall?
Maybe it's on the underside.
Something else that I definitely think would help out the, again, like you mentioned before with the, DCU is a, lovable personality, if not specifically on the screen, then at least behind it. If you get my meaning?
Yep.
Okay, found it. I hate those things.
Which is why, despite it not being my favorite interpretation of the Superman, I do like Henry Cavill, just based on what I've seen off of interviews with the guy. And we go over to people like Ezra Miller, or to pick someone from Marvel, Brie Larson.
Yeah.
It is funny how, for a brief period of time, they were pretty much thinking about having being her replace Tony as the heart head of the MCU.
And yet, literally no one at the studio wants to work with her anymore. I cannot believe that somebody can literally damage their reputation that badly.
Yeah.
She literally had the entire world handed to her on a silver platter, acted like it wasn't enough, and then is surprised when nobody wants to work with her.
This is what happens when you act like a spoiled brat.
Yep.
Especially when you also lie about stuff too. Like I remember like an interview with a couple of the other cast stars. She brings up that she does. I think so, they're talking about stunts, and then she lied, saying that she does her own stunts, only for evidence to the contrary. She does have a stunt double.
Yep, and you could definitely tell when it's the stunt double and not her, based on, let's say, proportions.
Oh gosh.
Let's just say that the stunt woman who was basically doing all the action for her was a bit more generous in some places.
The stunt double had a big bust, didn't they?
Oh, not a bust.
It was the butt, wasn't it?
If you basically if you wanna lose all subtlety, yeah.
I can't believe she had a big donkey.
Not surprised. Anyways.
But yeah, but now Captain Marvel's next thing went from a sequel to being a crossover with a couple of other characters that you wouldn't know unless you've seen the Disney Plus shows, like Ms. Marvel or...
And the best part about it is those characters are being brought in to replace her. And she basically is like, this is supposed to be Captain Marvel 2. Why the heck am I basically having to share with these people? Surprise Pikachu face.
Oh, I don't know. Probably because you're a big fat liar and you keep on shooting yourself in the foot too many times that the studio had enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and have you guys basically heard the rumors about the potential course correction that they might be taking with the MCU?
Oh.
Doesn't it involve Tony Stark, if I remember?
Yep.
Yeah.
You snap. You got it.
Yeah, so what are they doing for the course correction?
Basically speaking, the rumor that is implied is that they're going to try and use Endgame. Well, Endgame got them into this situation, so their solution is maybe Endgame can get us out of it. The whole idea is that there are 2 Infinity Snaps in Avengers Endgame that completely alter the course of the universe. There's the one that's done by Professor Hulk, which is basically just Bruce Banner with green skin, completely destroying Hulk's character, because the Hulk has a separate personality from Bruce, but I don't see it anywhere in Professor Hulk. But the point is, now, all throughout the last few movies, they were setting up some kind of love connection between Bruce and Natasha. I don't understand it either. So anyway, the whole idea in Avengers Endgame is that in order to get the Soul Stone, someone has to be sacrificed so that the stone can be achieved, and Natasha literally volunteered to sacrifice herself. So when Bruce finds out that she's literally gone for good and they can't bring her back because that's the only way they could get the Soul Stone, he's really upset and really distraught about it. And so they're making the claim that part of the reason why the radiation from the Infinity Stones damaged his arm so much was because he tried so desperately to correct the universe by bringing her back to life. He snaps his fingers when he's wearing the glove, and that brings back everyone that was basically erased during Thanos' snap back in Infinity War 5 years prior. So he's brought back everyone that Thanos killed, but his mind was on Natasha. So that sort of influenced the universe at that point to basically have created a sort of alternate tangent where the Disney Plus series have gone, because he had Natasha on his mind, and the Infinity Stones couldn't acquiesce to his request. They could only interpret it by changing the universe to be a bit more, let's say, focused on a certain on a certain type of people, shall I say. Anyways.
Okay, got my half done.
Where's yours, Chaos?
Hey, I got a lot of stuff
that
clean.
White line is literally the divider.
Here, I'll help you out there, yes.
90%. Well, this is going by pretty fast.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's basically the rumor that's the reason why the Marvel, like the Disney Plus series is on Marvel, and some of the movies have been the way that they are and why they're so bad. But like I said, there's also the fact that there's a second snap in Avengers Endgame, and that's the one that's caused by Tony Stark when he gets all the Infinity Stones away from Thanos. He snaps his fingers, and it basically does away with Thanos and his entire army, and they're basically planning, the rumor is at least, they're planning on using that snap to try and fix the universe, that everything that happened with the Disney Plus series, all the bad movies that they've done so far, they're going to push that into a corner and basically say, that over there, that's Hulk's fault. But the real continuation, the real Phase 4, everything that happens after Avengers Endgame from here on out is happening because of Tony over there snapping his fingers. I don't know what the universe might end up looking like, but hopefully they end up correcting some of the missteps that they've taken. And if they end up having to do this, it might mean having to bring some of the big characters back, like Tony and even Steve at some point.
Hey,
I wonder. Yeah, who knows? Depending on how they do it, I potentially won't mind too much.
I just hope that whatever universe that Tony Stark creates by snapping his fingers, it's one where Taika Waititi doesn't exist. Because without him, we're never gonna get. Because with him, we're never gonna get another decent Thor movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially since Chris Hemsworth is basically saying, I don't like playing Thor anymore because of this guy. I don't want to play Thor as long as he's in charge of the character.
Oh, you know when someone is actually bad at directing a Thor movie, when the actor himself hates his own character because of it.
Yep. And that's why I was so annoyed that for years everybody claimed that Thor Ragnarok was actually a good movie when it really wasn't. I mean, I think that basically maybe that it's okay, but there are so many friggin' plot holes in that movie that you really wouldn't run into if you just watched the previous movies. But then, that would require Taika Waititi to actually care, and he literally blasted it on Twitter saying that he doesn't. But anyway, the point, like, one thing that I'm getting at is that, like, you know that Thor Ragnarok was bad, considering that the Russo brothers, when it came to Thor's entire story arc in Avengers Infinity War, fundamentally ignored everything that Ragnarok did and almost completely rewrote Thor's story, like, from the ground up. That, to me, was hilarious and fitting.
Wow.
I mean, seriously.
Also, if you don't mind me asking, just as a refresher, because I have seen the movie, but it has been a while since I've seen them.
You want to know what happened in Ragnarok?
Yeah, like I said, I've seen it, so I do know what happens, I just don't remember.
Okay.
Spoiler warning for anyone who has yet to see Ragnarok. Go ahead.
Quite frankly, if you haven't, what are you doing? But anyway, so...
Go play God of War.
Quick fire synopsis is that Thor has been going around the entire universe searching for, like, clues as to who might be after the Infinity Stones, which anybody might think would eventually lead him to the Guardians of the Galaxy like we wanted, but nope, we're going to have to save that for the Avengers movie. But anyway, the point is that he starts to notice that everything that Asgard usually was responsible for keeping in check, like things from keeping the universe from falling apart, Asgard is no longer doing. He ends up starting out the movie on this fire planet, Muspelheim, part of the Nine Realms, where the fire giant known as Surtur exists. Surtur is actually supposed to be dead, but I guess he just isn't. Surtur is basically tied to the prophecy of Ragnarok, where he claims that one day he will plunge his fiery sword into the heart of Asgard and completely destroy it, so Thor promptly kills him and steals his fiery crown. He takes it back to Asgard, where, for some reason, Heimdall has been replaced by Karl Urban, and Karl Urban is a guy by the name of Scourge, who basically keeps using the Bifrost Bridge to basically get cool stuff, and Thor basically realizes that something is definitely up, so he goes to see his father, Odin, who's currently watching a play dedicated to Loki. And Thor immediately puts it together that the reason that the Nine Realms are falling apart is because Odin is not doing his job because he's too busy watching plays, and he of course puts two and two together that Odin is actually Loki in disguise. So he immediately demands to know where Odin actually is, and Loki basically takes him to Earth, where he put Odin in a nursing home that's currently been demolished. I left him right there. I don't know where he was. And then Loki and Thor get captured by Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange basically has he has a beer with Thor and basically asks, what exactly are you and your brother Loki doing here? He's a pretty big threat to Earth, and I have to protect Earth from people like him. Yeah, we're looking for our father. If you find your father, will you take Loki back to wherever it is you came from? Yeah, sure, why not? Okay, so then Strange helps them out because, for some reason, Odin came to Strange first to basically help him hide himself on Earth. Anyway, so Strange basically reveals where Odin is and activates a spell that allows them to travel to him. I think it's the White Shores of Dublin, now that I think about it, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, they end up going to Odin, where he's just basically sitting on the side of a cliff watching the sea rolling in, and basically reveals that he's dying, and that with his powers as diminished as they are, he will no longer be able to hold her back, and that she will bring Ragnarok. He reveals that, as it turns out, Thor actually has a sister, Hela, the goddess of death, and that he has been using his powers to keep her at bay all this time, but now that he's dying, she is basically going to... she's pretty much going to come back to claim what's hers. He also basically, says some vague BS about how any place could be Asgard, this place could be Asgard, remember this place, it's beautiful, and he promptly dies, disappearing and turning into gold dust. And that's when Hela shows up. So, Thor prepares to fight Hela and throws Mjolnir at her, only for her to catch Mjolnir and break it using her powers. So Thor's trusty hammer is completely broken, and Loki does the stupid thing by telling Scourge to open the Bifrost to get them out of there. The problem is, that's exactly what Hela wanted, considering that she wants to get to Asgard. She follows them through the Bifrost and then attacks them, and she manages to knock both Thor and Loki out of the Bifrost while she lands in Asgard. So, the best part about it is that Thor's three best friends, the Warriors 3 from the other movies, they're there guarding the Bifrost, waiting for them to come through. They immediately try to arrest Hela, and she promptly kills all of them. Yeah. These characters that we've known for the last two movies that were honestly quite enjoyable to watch and listen to, yeah, they're just dead. Dead, absolutely no ceremony. Dead, dead, dead. Anyway, Hela is now on Asgard, which apparently is exactly what she wanted. So, as for what happened with Thor and Loki, by falling out of the Bifrost, they end up on a junk planet known as Sakaar, a place where all unwanted things go, and where Jeff Goldblum is the Grand Master. And I gotta say, that's another huge misstep, because I like Jeff Goldblum, I really do, but the Grand Master is supposed to be a character of cosmic importance. He is like a very powerful being. He's one of those guys that could literally rewrite reality. He is 50% responsible for the crossover between Marvel and DC. The Justice League meeting the Avengers. So, anyway, the idea that basically Jeff Goldblum plays a character like a complete joke is kind of really irritating. Anyway, Thor lands in a junkyard where he almost gets attacked by some barbarians who wants to eat him, but he gets rescued by a woman who literally has no name. She's drunk, but she ends up rescuing him. She didn't really rescue him, she instead basically wants to capture him herself, and she shoots him in the neck with this little device that's meant to basically stun tase him whenever he's disobedient, where she basically sells him into slavery to the Grand Master. The Grand Master basically sends Thor to the arena where he's basically going to fight gladiator style against his champion. And for some reason, Loki is also there, and he's got the Grandmaster's favor, and kind of like buddy with him.
Oh, thank God! I was getting lost.
Yeah, I was wondering when you
yeah,
guys
the
were gonna
urinal
notice it was
spread.
that one.
The urinal spreaders was like the little silver thing in the middle of the urinals.
Like, you passed by it, and it was glowing like 3 times. I was wondering, is she gonna notice it? Like, should I point it out to her? But I can't. I just wanted to keep going with the synopsis.
Okay. And Clement says, I can't believe this is the same place that I bought. Your miracle worker is what you are. Now I'm thinking, do I really want a bunch of sweaty Gen Zs grinding out the place? Or do I want to open it as a luxury washroom where you can spend a penny in peace, albeit at a higher price? Now, does that appeal?
Yep. Alright, $700, please.
Yep. And look at that, we still got 45 minutes to go. So, first, let's see, do a little bit of shopping for some more equipment. Let's see. Get the short extension because I have a feeling we're going to need it.
Any special lines, by the way?
Yeah, I just...
Any other?
Nope, that seems to be it. Yeah, because he's now going back on his nightclub idea and thinking of just making this a luxury bathroom. Thank God. Anyways, now for the Helter Skelter.
In the summer swelter.
Yep.
The birds flew off for the fallout shelter.
Yeah. As you know from my previous correspondent, my Helter Skelter is filthy dirty after rolling down the entire length of Willow Creek. We don't need to revisit specifics. All we need to concern ourselves with is that we cannot live in a world where Helter Skelter is being economically outperformed by Carousel. Many thanks, Kevin. You know, you could
Alright, everyone. Let's pray.
Yep. Anyway, sorry for interrupting your little synopsis.
It's okay. Well, Thor learns that the only way that he can earn his freedom is by basically defeating the Grandmaster's champion in the arena. The problem is, this champion has literally killed everyone he's gone up against, and Thor no longer has his hammer. So, he ends up basically going into the arena to challenge this champion, and it turns out to be the Hulk.
Oh yeah, that's where they got the whole I know him from work thing from. Fun fact, that actually was suggested by a fan.
I should hope so. It's probably one of the only few funny things about the movie. And so, yeah, Hulk is here because the people who made this movie are confused about whether or not they were doing a Thor movie or if they were doing a Planet Hulk movie. I think that basically by trying to do both at the same time, they seriously wasted a huge opportunity, because instead of basically getting a proper Planet Hulk movie and hopefully a World War Hulk follow-up movie, we basically are stuck with this. Anyways,
and it doesn't help that that thanks to She-Hulk, the odds of that particular thing happening have been shot in the foot.
Exactly. I mean, where the heck was he supposed to have come from? Anyway, so Thor thinks that everything is going to basically turn out fine because he and Hulk are friends. Hulk has other ideas and basically takes the fight seriously. And it gets to the point where they literally almost kill each other. And there's this pretty cool scene where Thor basically manages to summon his lightning powers even without the hammer, only for the Grandmaster to friggin' cheat and use the friggin' taser thing in Thor's neck to stop the fight. Boo. But anyway, since I guess Thor and Hulk are now co-champions, Thor is basically let out of the prison cell and is allowed to hang out with Hulk in his luxury suite. As it turns out, the way that Hulk got there is after Avengers Age of Ultron, when he he steals the Quinjet to go off on his own. Somehow, the Quinjet ends up piloting itself off into space. He ends up sucked into a wormhole and crash lands here. Yeah, I don't know how it's supposed to work either. So, it's really convenient what can happen in a movie when the writers just refuse to think about it. But anyways, Hulk basically likes being here on Sakaar because he thinks that he's more accepted here. He thinks that when he's on Earth, people hate him, that he's a monster. And this basically goes to show that Hulk and Banner are completely separate personalities, because this is Hulk saying this and not Bruce. And Hulk basically kind of resents Thor because he says, "You Banner's friend." But anyways, so you remember that girl that basically didn't have a name? Well, she's important to the plot for some reason, because she and Hulk, for some reason, are buddies, and basically Thor correctly deduces that she was actually a former Valkyrie, and that thousands of years ago she was a guardian of Asgard, part of the Valkyrie warriors that were meant to defend the Nine Realms. But the reason that she is here on Sakaar and is a burnout drunk is because she and the entire Valkyrie horde went up against Hela and they got flattened. She was the only one to survive, and she couldn't basically go back to Asgard and face that humiliation. So she ended up on Sakaar and basically drank like a fish. And
became a slaver. Don't forget about that bit.
Oh yeah, became a slaver. Yeah, I just find it a bit curious of the fact that she literally has been drinking for hundreds of thousands of years. Her body seems to have absolutely no side effects whatsoever, and yet 5 years of casual alcoholism from Thor results in Avengers Endgame. But anyway, what I'm sort of getting at here is that what Thor wants her to help him escape, but she, of course, isn't going to do it because, well, let's face it, she's a poorly written character. Thor manages to steal the device that controls the taser thing in his neck and manages to turn it off so that he can basically be free. He then escapes out the window and goes to the Quinjet to try and basically fly his way back to Asgard, only for the Hulk to follow him and basically destroy the Quinjet, saying that he wants Thor to stay. A recording of Natasha, Black Widow, it starts playing on the Quinjet, and she basically gets Hulk to revert back to Banner, and Bruce is basically all like, "What happened? Well, we were in Sokovia, and where's Ultron?" and all that stuff. And it's like, dude, Sokovia was like 3 years ago. I've been the Hulk for 3 years? So that whole thing kind of comes out. So now basically, instead of having this big, powerful, green hulking monster on your side, you're basically stuck with Mark Ruffalo. That's pretty much like the whole upgrade, go back situation.
I find it funny
downgrade.
that it was...
Yeah, pretty much.
I find it funny that it was specifically a recording that did that, considering Hulk was specifically the one in control of that period, and he just turned off the message.
Exactly.
But now he sees it again, he powers off.
I mean, I gotta admit, the stuff between the Hulk and Banner is actually pretty interesting, because it's like, in the past it always kind of felt like the Hulk and I each had one hand on the steering wheel, but all of this, it felt like I was locked in the trunk. So, it kind of basically shows that there is a struggle for control over the body that they are sharing, so that could have been interesting, but then Avengers Endgame happened. But anyways, so they've basically destroyed the Quinjet, and now they need a ship that's powerful enough to take them through the gigantic wormhole that will hopefully take them back to Asgard.
Okay, Stacy Peachy is talking. Kev's getting his helter-skelter clean now, is he? That's hilarious. Don't listen to his clap track. That thing's been an eyesore for years. Jeez. Wow. They're part of the same carnival, and now they're at each other's throats? For goodness sake, work together.
Wasn't that the same person who had us clean their carousel?
That's the same one.
Anyway, back with the Hulk.
So yeah, basically they need a ship that can get them through this gigantic wormhole that could get them back to Asgard quickly, and this gigantic wormhole just happens to be called, quote, the Devil's Anus. Yeah. So, they need to basically steal a ship that can survive that giant wormhole, because normal ships that go into it usually get torn apart, and the only ship that can probably make it is the Grandmaster's personal yacht. So they're going to need to basically figure out a way to steal that. Meanwhile, back on Asgard, Hela has basically taken over everything. She's recruited Scourge and basically made him into the Grand High Executioner, and she basically breaks into Odin's vault where he has all the powerful artifacts. Oh, and you remember how Odin had a copy of the Infinity Gauntlet in his vault? Yeah, she just pushes it over and calls it a fake, claiming that most everything in there is fake. Although she does seem to be impressed by the Tesseract, but what she's interested is the eternal flame that Odin is keeping in there, because underneath Odin's vault is actually a graveyard where Odin was keeping her undead army. She then uses the flame to bring all of her undead minions back to life, including Fenrir, her gigantic wolf. So, Hela's got her own personal army and is now taking over Asgard. Fortunately, you remember how I mentioned that Heimdall got replaced by Scourge? Well, Heimdall comes back, he steals his sword from the Bifrost and starts taking refugees into hiding out in the wilderness of Asgard, because apparently that sword is the only thing that can activate the Bifrost. Note the tone in which I said that, because it's going to be ironic very soon. Anyway, back on Sakaar, Thor, Banner, and Valkyrie, they all team up to basically steal the Grandmaster's yacht, and they even team up with Loki, basically because he realizes that the Grandmaster is a maniac, and I can only indulge this guy for so long. I need to get out of here before he friggin' kills me. So, they end up basically freeing all the Glatorian prisoners, including Korg and Meek. Yeah, the less said about them, the better. Anyway, so while there's a riot going on in the prison, the guards will be distracted by them, allowing Thor and Loki to sneak into the Grandmaster's personal garage to steal their ship. And Loki, of course, tries to double-cross Thor by basically trying to capture him and turn him in for the bounty. The problem is, Thor was anticipating this and puts the shock taser collar thing on Loki and electrocutes him and basically just leaves him there, saying, "I'm just done with you, brother." So he leaves him there, and they steal the Grandmaster's ship. And after a long and lengthy chase scene, they end up going through the giant wormhole and escaping Sakaar. Meanwhile, Korg, Meek, and the other escaped prisoners, they show up at the hangar and find Loki there. It's like, "Hey man, we're about to get on that giant ship and fly away. You want to come?" "Sure. I can see that you guys are in desperate need of leadership, so I'll take on the responsibility myself." So he basically kind of becomes the leader of all these escaped prisoners and whatnot. But that's actually plot relevant, so I'm glad that I brought it up. Anyway, so Thor and Bruce and Valkyrie, they end up flying to Asgard, where Hela has taken over. And she plans to basically go and travel the 9 realms and basically conquer everything because, well, I guess she's the goddess of death, I don't know. But the thing about it is she can't leave Asgard because only Heimdall's sword can open the Bifrost. And she's desperately looking for all the citizens and refugees that Heimdall has taken into hiding. So anyway, Thor, Bruce, and everybody else, they show up on Sakaar and whatnot, and Thor goes to Odin's throne room to challenge Hela to a one-on-one duel, where he just so happens to find Odin's old scepter waiting for him there, which he uses as a weapon to fight Hela. Now, you guys remember how I was talking about how there were a lot of plot holes with this movie, and how my tone talking about Heimdall's sword would be very ironic in a moment?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, here is Odin's scepter. It's literally just lying around in Odin's throne room because Odin, well, he's dead. So, it's literally just been lying there this entire movie. Literally speaking, you go back and watch the original Thor movie, you realize that Heimdall's sword isn't the only thing that can open the Bifrost, because during the scene in which Odin banishes Thor, he uses the spear to open the Bifrost himself. Yeah. And it's just been lying there, in the throne room, the entire time. The one thing that she needs to get off of Asgard and go menace the rest of the 9 realms is literally just sitting right there in front of her. And the movie never acknowledges this.
It's as if they forgot about that little plot point.
Yeah, just
I would
like
be
how
surprised
Danny forgot
if he
about the
didn't even
Iron
watch
Fleet.
the first movie. God knows, despite being offered a spot in Star Wars, he'd never watched any of the movies there. Likely.
Yep. So, the thing about it is, while Thor is fighting Hela, he's basically distracting her so that Heimdall can basically lead all the citizens of Asgard to escape to get to the Bifrost so that they can get out of there. The problem is, Hela was anticipating this, as she has Fenrir posted out on the Rainbow Bridge that leads to the Bifrost, and she has her undead army flanking them from behind. So now the people are stuck on the bridge between the literal jaws of death and the army of the living dead behind them. So, Bruce Banner decides he's finally going to do something, and decides to jump off of the ship and jump towards Fenrir to try and protect these people by hopefully turning into the Hulk. It was supposed to be kind of like a reference to how it was in the Incredible Hulk movie from 2008. You know, the one starring Edward Norton, as in the good Hulk movie. Mm-hmm. But then they end up basically ruining it by throwing in some comedy, by basically subverting expectations to where instead of him transforming into the Hulk during his fall, he just face plants onto the Rainbow Bridge. And Fenrir basically just steps over his dead body, only for him to turn into Hulk afterwards. I gotta admit, it's actually a pretty cool fight scene, seeing the Hulk fight a giant wolf and whatnot. The problem is that they really had been running out of the CGI budget at this point, and they had to save money on a whole lot more, so as spectacular as this fight could be, it's not nearly spectacular enough. Anyway.
It's why Hulk needs his own movie, not work with the other Avengers, funny as that is.
Exactly. Anyways, Hela is fighting Thor, Valkyrie is doing something, and, oh yeah, Loki shows up in that big ship that Korg and Meek helped him steal, and they basically start loading the Asgardian refugees onto the ship, and yeah, it's actually kind of like a really good moment, because Loki is actually coming to the rescue here. The problem is, the battle with Hela and Thor isn't going well in Thor's favor, and Hela literally slices out one of his eyes. So, he then basically has a vision of Odin, and is basically like, she's too strong. I can't stop her without my hammer. And Odin basically gives him a pep talk. Are you Thor, the god of hammers? No? Then what are you? The hammer was only a conduit. The real power was in you the entire time. And so, of course, suddenly, Thor basically manages to awaken his lightning and thunder powers without using the hammer, hits Hela with the biggest lightning bolt of all lightning bolts, and then flies out to the bridge where he basically cuts through the army of the undead, all while Led Zeppelin's The Immigrant plays.
And Kevin Bernard's talking to me. Your technique is excellent. Jet control, 8 out of 10. Thank you. Knowledge of apertures, 9 out of 10. Very nice. I like that. Soap discretion, 8.5 out of 10. I'm not even using soap. Stance, 9.3 out of 10. Congratulations. Why, thank you, Mr. Bernard.
Why do I feel a big butt coming on?
Well, it ended there, so yeah.
I just felt like that was building up to something. I don't think that we can trust this Bernard fellow.
We finished cleaning this thing, it charges up a giant laser at the carousel.
Yeah, but what do I know? Anyways, climax of the movie time. They're basically fighting off the army of the undead. Everything looks like it's going good. Thor literally throws Fenrir off the gigantic waterfall that literally leads into open space because Asgard is just weird like that. And here's actually one of the few things about the movie that I actually like. I mentioned to you that Scourge, or whatever his name is, he's basically played by Karl Urban. Earlier in the movie, they established that he has 2 M16 assault rifles that he calls Des and Troy, because when you put them together, they destroy. Now, he's on the ship. He basically was only with Hela because he was with her reluctantly because she needed a second in command that she could boss around. But when he's realizing that he's basically being used to pretty much enslave his own people, he knows that it's morally wrong and he tries to sneak away. Meanwhile, the army of the undead are trying to get up onto the ship where all the innocent Asgardians are pretty much helpless. So he decides to break out Des and Troy and basically start shooting them in order to give the Asgardians a time to get away. Now, the thing that I like about this scene is that Karl Urban is actually the guy who played a character in the 2005 live-action Doom movie. He was Doom Guy. And there's this scene in Thor Ragnarok where he's got the 2 machine guns and he's shooting down at the army of the undead, and their bodies are piling up. That literally looks just like the original cover artwork of the original Doom. So, I gotta admit, I gotta give props where they're due. That is such a subtle but such a brilliant reference right there, because there's no way that can be accidental. The pose and the fact that it's Karl Urban, they had to have been doing it on purpose. So
I would say so, yeah.
I'll give Taika Waititi that. He might not basically be like the most reliable guy or even the smartest, but at least he has a pretty good sense of humor.
Yep.
Anyways, so
and a good taste in references to other
media,
yeah.
So anyway, that's basically the end of that character, because eventually he does run out of bullets and he does get overrun by the zombies, but you win some, you lose some. Anyway, Thor, I think, has another vision where he's basically like trying to figure out like how they could possibly stop Hela and save Asgard, especially considering that Asgard is the source of Hela's power. The longer that she has been here in Asgard, the more powerful she becomes. And this vision that he has of Odin, he says, Asgard is not a place, it is a people. And then the vision is basically back on like the White Cliffs of Dover, where he reminds Thor that any place could be Asgard. This place could be Asgard. Asgard is a home and a people. So it is wherever their people call home. And so that's what gives Thor the idea that Hela he said, Odin said that Hela would bring Ragnarok, but that's mainly because they're not supposed to stop Ragnarok. They're supposed to cause it in order to stop her. He tells Loki to go to the vault and find Surtur's crown and dip it into the eternal fire, which will bring Surtur back to life. Hela basically shows up and is about to have the final battle with Thor, and of course it's the whole, you want Asgard? Take it. It's yours. Whatever game you're playing, it won't work. You can't defeat me. Yeah, I know. But he can. And so, in the background, Surtur, now a friggin' kaiju-sized giant, erupts from the palace and basically gets ready to stab his fiery sword into the heart of Asgard, destroying everything. And of course, Hela can't have this because Asgard is her source of power. The good guys all pile onto a ship and basically try to escape, as Surtur basically just backhands Hela away and basically just stabs his sword into her, destroying her. Hulk basically does try to get in like a few shots at Surtur, basically wanting to fight him, and Thor's like, Hulk, no, don't smash! But, giant monster! Come on, we've gotta go. So anyway, they get up onto the ship and they basically watch as Surtur literally destroys Asgard. There's this funny bit where Korg is like, you know, the Foundation's actually still intact. Maybe one day we'll return and we will rebuild this place. And it will become a safe haven for all free peoples, and then Asgard blows up. Okay, maybe not so much.
Glad to see you're starting to get out into the world. I need someone with your skill and integrity at my private hangar. Okay. Sounds like another possible job is... Oh, suggestions for improvement. There's the butt you were looking for.
Blake Thrust. I wonder what he's got at the private hangar.
Okay. Fire your jet straight up in the air and let gravity do the rest, or... Use a succession of single bursts from a point-blank range to significantly reduce water usage. That's not how power washers work, but Mr. Bernard.
Yep.
In either case, time and wetness may become factors.
We have infinite water anyway, so...
Not like he's paying for the water. Cheapskate.
And I wonder why he's constantly at odds with the carousel owner.
Yep. So, in conclusion to Thor Ragnarok, Thor is a character who, when you get down to it, he loses a whole lot of stuff, which is surprising because I'm now I'm basically like thinking, are the writers confusing Thor with Spider-Man? Because let's take it into consideration. In the first movie, well, Thor basically lost his pride because he seriously needed to be humiliated. In the second movie, Thor loses his mother. The third movie, he loses his father. He loses his hammer. He finds out that he has an older sister, but she turns out to be a major see you next Tuesday, but he ends up losing her as well. And then he ends up losing the only home he has ever known. So he's basically lost a whole lot of things. But it's at this point that Thor is now undisputably the new ruler of Asgard. He is Asgard's king, and he can no longer shirk that responsibility. So he has to step up and be a leader for his people because they need him now more than ever. And he basically decides, yeah, let's go to Earth. Anyways, and that's basically where Thor Ragnarok pretty much ends. Oh, except they end up basically like running into this gigantic Chitauri spaceship out in the middle of space before they get to Earth. No big deal. I'm sure whoever is on that boat must be friendly.
So anyway, into Avengers Infinity War.
Literally everybody dies. Literally, the opening section of the movie is everyone that was on that ship, all the Asgardian refugees, they're all dead. And you want to know how I know this? Because I remember seeing it in theaters and only ever hearing the screaming. Instead, for the DVD releases, they went and changed it by adding some last-minute BS dialogue about how this over the radio you hear basically someone saying the escape pods have been jettisoned and the people are getting to safety. I'm calling BS on that because, well, for the one thing, why are they talking like over a radio? Who are they talking to? And like, friggin', the point is that it seemed to me like in the original theatrical version of this thing, all the Asgardians were pretty much killed. So it kind of seemed like that entire ending that we pretty much like spent the entire movie building up to was almost completely undone. Especially because, like, the Asgardians had already friggin' lost their home and their planet. If Thanos was truly going to do his half the population thing with them, it seems a bit excessive at that point. Because I honestly don't think that there were enough Asgardians for Thanos where Thanos, if he was going to take half, was actually going to matter all that much anyway. And plus, Thanos is here because they have something that he wants. I think that basically he's not really going to split hairs about whether or not they go extinct. I honestly think that in the original theatrical version, before they ended up changing this because they decided that they really wanted to fix or retcon something, that I really think that they ended up wiping out the entire Asgardian people there. Like, friggin', they're all dead. Korg and Meek are dead. Valkyrie is dead, thank you. And the only ones that are left alive are Thor, Loki, Heimdall, and Bruce. But we'll get to that. So, on the ship, you got the children of Thanos, a weird-looking guy by the name of Ebony Maw, who's basically walking over the dead corpses of all the killed Asgardians and basically asking them to rejoice in the fact that they have been saved by the great Titan and that they are now all children of Thanos. Meanwhile, Thanos is over there standing by the window, looking out into space, and he basically is dragging Thor's lifeless body around and brings him over towards Loki, and basically reveals that he's got the Power Stone, the purple stone that was revealed in Guardians of the Galaxy, which is supposed to be safely tucked away in a vault on Xandar. We'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, he demands that Loki give him the Tesseract, or he'll basically kill Thor. Thor is under the impression that they don't have the Tesseract because it was destroyed on Asgard when Surtur destroyed the entire place. However, when Loki went into the vault to get Surtur's throne, he grabbed the Tesseract on the way out. And Thor just basically says, "You really are the worst, brother." And he hands over the Tesseract to him, albeit he ends up dragging out the conversation long enough so that Hulk can get on his feet and basically tackle Thanos from behind. Yeah, Hulk is supposed to be the strongest there is, but Thanos literally dismantles him. Yeah, and if you actually pay attention to this scene, you notice that the Power Stone isn't glowing, which means that Thanos isn't using it. He's taking the Hulk apart with his own strength on his own. So,
Jeez.
Damn.
Scary stuff. He completely just folds the Hulk and body slams him, and Hulk literally just can't do anything in response to that. Anyway, Heimdall basically gets an idea and harnesses dark magic inside of himself to open the Bifrost and send Hulk to Earth so that he can warn the other Avengers about Thanos' coming.
Oh. Do you think it'd be too much using an enormous catapult at the top to propel my customers down the slide? Yes!
Very much so.
I would like
mean-
to set my Helter Skelter to be the world's fastest. No.
But just think of the possibility. No.
I mean, maybe not a catapult. Maybe more like a giant slingshot, like Wile E. Coyote style.
What about a dogapult? No one ever tries those.
Anyways, I think we get the idea that, this series was in desperate need of a reboot.
I know, right? Because, I mean, literally speaking, all that stuff that they basically, like, were building up in Thor Ragnarok literally gets undone within the first 5 minutes. And the whole point of Ragnarok is pretty much Thor learning that he doesn't need the hammer in order to basically be powerful enough. He's got the power within him. And yet, what is Thor's big solution to fighting Thanos and getting his revenge? He has to go and make himself a new hammer. So, saving the people of Asgard, undone. Learning to harness the power within yourself because you no longer have your hammer, undone. Not needing your hammer anymore, undone. Literally speaking, it's like, it almost seems like like they're directly insulting Taika Waititi at this point. It's like, you basically really screwed up Thor's lore, so now we're basically going to pretend your movie didn't happen. I mean, here's even, like, another part, the fact that Thor lost his eye back in Thor Ragnarok. He just replaces it with a robot eye in this movie, and it's literally like, you can't even tell the difference. He's got a prosthetic eye now, and it's, like, so convincing that it's basically like, it's just an excuse so that Chris Hemsworth doesn't have to wear an eye patch. Now, don't get me wrong, Stormbreaker is pretty cool. I think that, like, the scene where they make Stormbreaker is really awesome, and the scene where Thor shows up in Wakanda and just completely dominates Thanos' army with it, that is a really awesome scene. But I can't help but feel like they just really went out of their way to undo everything that happened. So,
yeah. Only
and then
just somewhat
Avengers
double back.
Endgame, they did it again.
Yeah.
Because suddenly all those Asgardians that were killed in the beginning of Infinity War, yep, they're alive again. They've established...
And somehow made it to Earth.
Yeah, they somehow made it to Earth, and they've established a new Asgard. They're on the White Cliffs of Dover, or wherever they're supposed to be. Who knows? I could be thinking that they're supposed to be in Dover, but for all I know, they could be in Wisconsin. They could be setting up on the shores of Lake Michigan. That'd be hilarious.
And all the other major important characters that survived Ragnarok also show up in that village. Every single one, except Loki, of course, but that's the point.
Yeah, I'm legit kind of surprised. I mean, did they actually wanted to kill off Loki there? I find that so weird, because it's like, you would think that Loki would be able to weasel his way out of this, or have a contingency plan. Plus, the idea that Thanos literally kills him just by strangling him to death, that kind of feels a bit weak, especially since, like, Thanos' servant back in the Avengers is like, you think you know pain? If you fail him, you will beg for something as sweet as pain. And he just strangles him? You honestly think that that's that bad?
Hey, some people have a phobia. Yeah, that guy had a phobia of being strangled.
Yeah, well, this guy also had a pretty bad crick in his neck, but Ronan the Accuser helped him out with that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, even if they wanted to basically, if they wanted the Asgardians to survive and for them to be a thriving people here on Earth, the worst thing that they did was what they did with Thor afterwards. I can admit it's very relatable that Thor would be depressed over the fact that he had his chance to kill Thanos, and it looked like he succeeded. It looked like he saved the entire universe, only to fail and get the rug pulled out from under him. That would mess up even the best of people. But the fact that they basically treat him and his depression as such a comedic thing and show just how badly this guy has devolved in just 5 years, that is where I really can't stand what they did with Thor in the movie. And what's even worse is the fact that Thor's entire journey across the movies, the first Thor movie, he's literally about to be crowned as Asgard's king when his coronation gets interrupted, and it's basically revealed that because of his hot temper and eagerness for battle, for glory, for war, he's not ready to be king. So he gets banished to Earth to teach him some humility. In the second movie, he's basically doing what he's supposed to do, protecting the Nine Realms and trying to keep the peace after Loki ended up screwing everything up by invading the Earth with the Chitauri, because everything is now going to chaos. And in light of all of that, he realizes that he can't actually be king of Asgard because he doesn't want it. He doesn't want to be king. He can protect the Nine Realms, but he can't do it as Asgard's ruler because he now wants a more humble lifestyle. He wants to be with Jane, so he gives up being Asgard's king. But then in Thor Ragnarok, his people are in like the worst situation that they've been in, and they need him now more than ever, and he realizes that, yep, now's my time to step up. I can't keep running from this anymore. It's my responsibility. I have to be king. Then Infinity War happens, and like I said, it would mess even the toughest guys up. It would mess anybody up. But then Endgame happens. He spends the next 5 years feeling sorry for himself, neglecting his duties as king, and at the end of it, when you think that maybe he's finally learned a moral lesson and is going to finally step up and be the person he's supposed to be, nope! He decides, you know what, screw it, I don't want to be king, I'm just going to go bum around with the Guardians of the Galaxy for a bit and go find myself, you know? And he leaves Valkyrie in charge. Valkyrie.
Yes.
She doesn't even have a name.
Yes, put the person who was spent more time drinking than Thor, being a slave, or all over a problem that, was ultimately defeated and contained, which is, when you think about it, even more pathetic than the state Thor went into,
Mm-hmm.
I know, right? And I think that's what irritates me the most, because Valkyrie and Thor's situation is basically the same. Because when you get down to it, she went up against Hela, she and the rest of her Valkyries got killed, and she blamed herself for not being able to save or protect her fellow Valkyries. And so this causes her to be depressed, and she ends up becoming an alcoholic for hundreds of thousands of years, and yet she is literally so small I could probably lift her with one hand. Meanwhile, Thor literally goes through the same situation. He fails to stop Thanos, he fails to protect the universe, half the population of the universe dies, and after just 5 years, Thor is now fat. He's obese. He is completely strung out. He's unhealthy. It's like, what double standard nonsense is this? Thousands of years versus half a decade.
Yeah, when you really think about it too, a lot of the just going back to the whole double standard thing, by the final fight, a lot of the male Avengers really couldn't fight the way they could in previous movies. Hulk, like you said, was pretty much just Banner, and he gets crippled.
Yep. And that's the biggest disappointing fact, because I went into such detail about how Thanos literally folded Hulk, and I basically mentioned that Hulk and Banner have separate personalities. That was literally the most interesting part of Avengers Infinity War, because after that, every single time that Banner tries to turn into the Hulk refuses to come out. And it literally gets to the point where Hulk and Banner are literally arguing with each other, and why? It's because Hulk is scared. he's afraid of Thanos and doesn't want to fight him again after what Thanos just did, because Hulk has been under the impression that he's as strong as he will need to be, because in any situation he just needs to get angrier and angrier until he's unbeatable, and Thanos was literally able to fold him like that. So you would
Without
think...
the Power Stone, too, the one MacGuffin that could have potentially, could overpower Hulk, he didn't even need it.
Exactly. So, you would think that basically, like, they were leading up to something with that. Instead, in Endgame, Banner has just completely assimilated Hulk at this point. There's absolutely no semblance of Hulk at all in their personalities. It's just Mark Ruffalo, except he's big and he's green and he's cringy. I mean, seriously, dab, hug your mother, she knows better, but all that cringe-worthy stuff. I mean, the scene where he gives Scott Lang a taco, that's actually pretty wholesome and nice and friendly. And then, of course, the stupid scene where he tries to explain time travel, except literally by the movie's own rules. They contradict this later on in the movie, but the point is, what's disappointing is that in the climax, Hulk gets taken out of the action because he's the one who snapped, and he only has one arm, so therefore he can't fight. That means he doesn't get his redemption. He doesn't get his rematch with Thanos. A Thanos who doesn't have any of the Infinity Stones, and he needs to basically stop him from getting his hands on all of them. So you would think that basically they would be building up to this big, epic, climactic battle between the two of them, where Hulk manages to really kind of...
Okay, I'm going to move this over.
...redeem himself.
Yes.
Especially considering that the teasers lied to us. Because I remember there was one teaser image where when Avengers Endgame gets announced, there's a shot of Thanos on the ground and a very scarred and burned, distinctly green arm is punching him into the ground. They were planning on doing a scene where they fight each other again, where after Hulk snaps and his arm gets all messed up, he still fights. He's still fighting like a champion. Why couldn't they have done that? What's the point of even filming it if you're not going to do it?
Yeah. Well, at that point, it's not even filming. It's just CGI that they left on use, and the only thing that
you
come
got
up
me there, but motion capture, you know?
Yeah.
They still got people in suits.
Yeah, they still effectively did that. It is very... I don't want to use the word bizarre, but it is strange. Especially since, well, it's been on the decline ever since, with the only character they're being allowed to get any sort of successful, decent flicks being Spider-Man.
And that's because he is helmed by a completely different studio.
Yep. A studio that at least knows how to do Spider-Man now.
Mm-hmm.
Took a few tries, but they finally got a rhythm going.
Yep. It's ironic that it took them 3 movies to finally turn Tom Holland into Spider-Man for real.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they get that studio to do any of the Avenger movies, huh?
Because
Sony.
It's Sony. Like, most of the MCU is basically held under the umbrella of Marvel Studios, which is owned by Disney. However, Sony has retained the rights to Spider-Man and roughly any other characters that were invented in the Spider-Man comics. Because you see, back in the 90s, Marvel was was basically on the verge of going bankrupt, so they're like thinking, we need to make a whole lot of money very quickly, let's sell the movie rights to some of our most popular characters to the highest bidder. Sony immediately jumped on Spider-Man because it was the most popular Marvel character at the time, and then Fox got the X-Men and other things and whatnot. So basically, a whole lot of the Marvel characters ended up spread around to several different studios. Like, Hulk was actually at Universal. In fact, I think Hulk technically still is at Universal. They just have a deal to let him be in the Avengers movies and whatnot. But anyway, that's basically like how that chestnut goes. That's why everyone was so excited at the announcement with Captain America: Civil War that Spider-Man was going to be in Captain America: Civil War, because it's like he's owned by another studio at this point, but they're letting him cross over. They're letting him do these movies so that he can be a part of this universe.
Yep.
Although it is a shame that basically Andrew Garfield couldn't keep the role, because honestly, I would have found a way to tie in the web series with the into the MCU. I would have basically I would have had Andrew Garfield keep the role instead of recasting it with Tom Holland.
Yeah. I think I saw Andrew Garfield having I think it was some sort of, like, I'm not sure what it was, but they specifically had the character, the Spidey pretty much stop a group of bullies just bullying a kid, then Spider-Man walked the bullied kid home.
I think that's what happened.
Sure that was. Yeah.
It was in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. He basically, like, there's this kid with a science project. I think that he was getting harassed, and Spidey shows up and basically kind of shows the bullies what for, and basically kind of like walks the kid home talking about the science project, and it's a cute and wholesome scene.
Yeah, because he's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, something that doesn't unfortunately get brought up even in the Marvel movies all too often. Because
I mean, they try to. Mr. Stark, you can't exactly be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man if there's no more neighborhood.
Yep. Oh yeah. By the way, Link, did I tell you before about the Midnight Sun getting updated?
Yeah, I heard about that, but the story is over, isn't it?
Yeah, the story is over. But it would be nice to do another little stream at some point, beginning to end. Not soon, unfortunately, because there's another game that's going to be coming out soon that I'm going to be investing a lot of my time into. I'm just glad that for the Midnight Suns, which I think probably have some pretty good portrayals of a lot of the characters. I even don't specifically hate Captain Marvel that much, considering I otherwise hate how she is in a lot of other media.
Well, I think it helps that they actually gave her a personality.
Yeah. Well, I still get annoyed. The whole thing is that she is specifically this uber-powered superhero, strongest Avenger. That's defines a lot of it. But hey, at least it's an interesting little dynamic with Blade.
And apparently, whoever made Midnight Suns liked to ship them.
Blade and Carol.
Mm-hmm.
Not a combination I would have thought of, but hey, I've seen weirder ships.
Yeah, look at half the stuff that the fans can do. So yeah, the creator of the Midnight Suns liked to ship Captain Marvel with Blade.
Yeah, for accident. And I really did like how, like, just going back in time to back when I was streaming all the Midnight Suns content. I really did like how they ended up off the DLC with the Bloodstorm and specifically having Blade lead the group to go up against the titular Dracula for the final battle. Kind of wish they had a little bit more for the final battle than just a rematch against an enemy at that point dealt with 3 times already. But, oh well, maybe for the sequel they can do a little bit better with having a special encounter like that. But overall, I still think it was fine.
Okay, definitely not here.
I know at the very least that I think that as much as people complain about how their personalities are out of combat, which I just in general find hilarious, is I do like how they are in combat, especially Venom. Venom's my favorite. Venom is pretty much the Hulk in this game, considering Hulk doesn't otherwise get a chance to shine.
Yeah, it's Venom. A full momentum. I think it's time to go get him. They ain't gonna know what them.
I love how that actually gets referenced in one of Venom's sparring lines, like, "If you don't know what hit you, it was us."
That's that one back there.
But yeah, I hope Firaxis does get a chance to do a second game, and hopefully reception of that will be better received. Because I know I was also a little bit skeptical of the card system, but ultimately I think the card system is a nice little way of being able to get all the characters to do their thing. It's at least also creative as well.
Alright, next.
God knows I love the combos that can be done with the heroics. Like, for example, there's we got a little bit here on the stairs still, not yet cleaned. Alright, I got it now.
It's on top.
I especially did like the special abilities, though, before I forget, that the Hunter also gets. Like my favorite one, the pinnacle of the dark abilities of what was it, like decimation or something along those lines, where the Hunter pretty much just does a big old AOE attack that does a lot of damage, so much. An attack that I love so much that the final boss that took control of my body decided, hey, I'm gonna do this too, and just panic the crap out of Chaos. Because if anything is going to make me panic, it's definitely going to be watching me get smacked with my own technique when I'm unable to respond back in kind.
You found it.
Yep. Yeah, just focusing underneath, because that's probably... And I know one ship that I know that Light Trainer likes. That would be Nico and the Hunter.
Yep. I don't know, there's just something so natural about that, about those two together.
Oh yeah, I agree. It helps that they can both bond over their shared mutual problem of having evil mothers.
Oh yeah.
One was a bigger fish than the other one, but when you get right down to it...
A nacho by any other name would taste less cheesy.
But yeah, I would say the friendship with the base members of the Midnight Hunt in general were also pretty good. It probably helps that I was specifically going on my dark run, and a lot of them like that. So I will admit, I also liked Spidey as well.
Okay, next.
Granted, I always like Spidey. Spidey is a kind of a bias, but meh.
This one. So always has to be the ones hidden by the slide.
Of course it is.
I also found it amusing that he specifically kept his secret identity a secret up until a certain point. point where he feels a lot more secure with the other Midnight Suns. Because out of all the heroes, he's probably the one that usually tries to keep that identity under wraps the most.
Yep.
Very rarely do people find out that he's Peter Parker unless they're specifically part of his closer circle. Or an enemy trying to exploit it. Who then proceeds to get impaled by his own glider.
Or when Tony Stark gives him really, really, really bad advice.
Oh god!
You okay?
So you're moving the thing, right?
Oh shoot! I'm sorry. Hang on. Let me just.
Jane, got me off this crazy thing.
Wait, are you still on top of it as I'm moving it?
Yes.
Oh god, hang on. Let me just find a spot to like park it.
Actually, you know what? Just move me around. That way I can get like a good eyes view. Oh god.
Yeah,
No, I'm gonna be sick.
Stop moving.
I'm trying. It's just there. You're not. It's not letting me park it. Okay, you get down now.
Okay.
There's that Barbie up here up there. Okay. That's probably was the problem why I couldn't park it, because you were still on top of it. Sorry. I'm sorry.
I didn't expect that to happen.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Okay. Well, now we know what happens if you try moving the scaffolding when someone's still on it.
Yeah, crazy things happen.
Yeah. Okay. Alright, got those done. Okay, there's a top panel or two that's still missing a few spots.
Yeah. If you're wondering why I haven't moved, it's because I'm now grabbing the clip of me being moved around and,
Oh, jeez.
Oh well, at least we'll have it.
Oh, no. Oh, dear. Oh,
Because honestly,
geez.
that was funny in motion, and I can't wait to give you all motion sickness when you see it.
Comedy in motion.
Okay. Now there's a channel light that still is missing. And a vertical frame. Okay. Aha!
A vertical frame and channel light. Well, he's looking for the lights will be simple.
Yeah, I got the lights. Just need the frame now.
Vertical frame.
There, that should make it slightly easier.
Is it really safe to be spraying all this water onto lights that clearly have an electrical charge going through them?
Hasn't stopped us before, won't stop us now.
And besides, a lot of these things are also out in the rain, so... Where is that frame that's like... This one? No. You've got to be freaking kidding me. Don't tell me it's like...
I'm gonna go under the assumption that it's like one of these up here.
Okay. Because, boy, did this one have a lot of parts.
Yeah. Didn't help that it's somewhat vague. Like, vertical frame. Oh boy, which vertical frame?
I don't think those are the vertical frames we're looking for.
Yeah, I tried and I couldn't find a dang thing.
Hang on. Yeah, these are top frames, not vertical frames. The vertical frames are these long ones on the side of this, well, slide. And I got this one highlighted, so there's one that's like supposed to be flashing a pale white. If it's the one above the door, I am going to... Oh, found it!
I found it. Found it.
Oh, thank God.
Woo! Finally. Jeez, and I thought I'll be driven insane by the frickin' let's see. An accomplished display of pressure washing. Well done. My Helter Skelter is undisputably the tallest and arguably cleanest ride of the carnival. Therefore, it is the best. A team of inspectors have thus far failed to detect any residual deposits. Congratulations, 7.5 out of 10. Screw you! That's at least a 9! Oh! And next time, we're going to be cleaning Mr. Blake's private jet.
Like, I basically have mentioned how Blake Thrust is clearly like a nod to the main character from The Last Dinosaur. We'll probably not be able to get this, but if they are continuing making references, then I guarantee that he's got like a whole bunch of like animal trophies inside of that private plane. That'd be a sight to see.
Well, at least we made him happy with his drill, so yeah. Boy, did we spend a long time.
Had a chimney. That'd be something too.
Yeah, we had 2 jobs done. One being a place that was supposed to be a nightclub, but thank God they changed. He decided to change his mind on that one. And then we had this monstrosity. And next time we're cleaning the jet. I'd like to thank all my viewers for watching. I'd like to thank Chaos for helping me clean this crazy thing.
I'm still dizzy from when you were constantly moving the thing.
I'm sorry.
He got seasick from seeing too much.
I also like to thank Link for his insight on the Marvel and DC movies.
Well, I'm just an encyclopedia.
Yep. And remember, the only real magic you have is your imagination. And a warning whenever...
And the power to pick up your friends.
Yeah, quite literally. Yeah, I think from now on, if there's scaffoldings involved, we shouldn't like warn one or the other if someone's on top. Anyways, see everyone!
Bye.
Bye.